have a sports story that caught my attention, actually.
No way.
It happens, Mr. Travis. And not just bunch of foreign dudes playing tennis at the U.S. Open over the weekend. It was actually quite amazing to watch Medvedev just tear apart the greatest. It just goes to show you, even when you're the greatest of all time, you can have a bad night. Even the best of all time. I mean, Clay, right. It's just the way it is sometimes. But it used to be that there, in the earlier days of the transgender rights debate and the movement around it, that you could say, okay, well, we could all agree that there should be some things. You shouldn't have men, biological males, playing on women's sports teams. I mean, we should just be able to say men, by the way, because men and women are actual categorizations that exist in reality, despite what the left thinks. And they said, no. And so now you do have people who will be competing in things, whether it's, they'll be, I remember there was the transgender handball player, I believe, who's like, 1.5 feet taller than most of the other girls on the Olympian,
the Olympic weightlifter, which is kind of a big deal.
Right? Laurel Hubbard, we've talked about. But even beyond that, we said, okay, well, we could all agree that there should be some things. I mean, combative sports, boxing, jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts. You're not going to subject a woman to fighting a man, a biological male. That's just wrong. That's just unethical. It would be like having somebody in a boxing match who's just all, juiced up on steroids, fighting somebody who's not. That's not right. That's not fair, right? I'm not talking about two men in that example. But Alana McLaughlin is the second openly transgender woman to compete in MMA in the United States. Won her, because we all have to say her, that's the requirement now, debut Friday night via submission in Miami, Florida. This is an individual, McLaughlin, former U.S. Army Special Forces, retired in 2010. I mean, Clay, I just think this is gross, man. I know that there are people that want to push for this kind of, they think this is a new liberation movement or a new civil rights movement or whatever. You look at the two bodies, one's a man, one's a woman, and a man fighting a woman should be viewed by everybody as wrong and beyond just wrong from a sports competition perspective.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the places where you run up against the reality of transgender rights. I think there's a huge percentage of the people out there, I would put myself in this category. If you decide that you want to change your gender and you are an adult and you think it will make you happier and you can afford to do it, whatever. I mean, I don't get that worked up about it, right? I understand some people are upset about that idea, but me, I think I'm like, whatever. I think that's probably the majority. I really don't care. But when you start telling me that you are going to have men who are biological men competing against women, and that, by the way, it's going to be happening in some of our high schools. There's a lawsuit out there I'd encourage you guys to read out of Connecticut, where the Connecticut State High School champion now in many different sports is a man who identifies as a woman. And if you think out there, you got a daughter, you've got granddaughters, you got somebody who has worked her entire life trying to be good at something, and then they end up losing to a biological man. It's just not right. It fundamentally distorts the entire basis of athletics. And so, Buck, you're right. And it's even worse in combat sports or weightlifting, places where being physically large is a tremendous advantage. And I can't believe that we even have this going on. It's pure madness.